When is it time to pivot? When does it make sense to change your niche? That's what I want to talk with you about in today's video. Welcome back. Uriel Kane here, CEO and founder of Healthpreneur. So I get this question a lot from people in our community. And one of the first things that we do with our clients when they start working with us is we help them identify the best niche for them to focus on. And the reason for this is because when you are proactively marketing your business and you want to build a sustainable coaching business, you can't help everyone. So the first most important decision you have to make is, well, who do I want to serve? What problem do I want to really help people solve? What am I best at solving for other people? It's a really, really important question because everything you do flows from that. Your marketing, your messaging, the eventual coaching program you build, all of that flows from this singular question of what problem can I solve and who has that problem that I want to work with? If you don't start there, nothing else in your business matters. It's a complete waste of time. So you get to a point where you've decided to specialize, perhaps, and things are challenging, right? You're not really getting the traction you want. You're dealing with frustrations and resistance. And what happens a lot of times, we think of that as maybe I should change into a different niche. And I want to share this really important concept with you in this video about when does it make sense to do that and when does it not make sense to do that. So let's look at the first one, which is when does it not make sense to change or pivot niches? So a bit of requirements here. Number one, you have to have a niche to begin with. So number one, if you're a generalist, you have to choose one niche to start with. You got to start there. But Yuri, which one do I choose? To be honest, there's a little bit of a science and art to this. But if you think you're going to go into a niche that has no competition, please don't do that. Because if there's no competition and no one's doing what you want to do, there's probably a reason for that because no one gives a shit about it. Every single market in the health space is competitive. It's saturated. Welcome to the world. Okay. You're not going to enter some market that no one knows about. It just doesn't exist. So the very fact that there is competition is a good sign because it means that there's a lot of people that want a solution to the specific problem, and other people are willing to build businesses around the solution or the problem. So that's a good thing. So let's say that you've identified that specialty. All right, so now we want to look at, first and foremost, when does it not make sense to make the jump? Okay, so let's look at a couple things. Number one, the first thing I'm looking at is, if you're not a client of mine or ours, and you're coming to me and you're like, hey, Yuri, I'm not sure if I should change niches. I help women with bladder issues. Okay, so right away in the back of my mind, I'm like, I have many clients who are killing it in that space. So I know that that's a viable market. And to be honest, any market you come to me with, for the most part, is going to be a good one. But I'll give you some nuances. So I know that this is a market that is very viable. So the first thing I'm thinking about is, what is it about your messaging, your offer, your communication, how you show up energetically that is repelling to the types of people you want to work with? Because as soon as you understand that, then all of a sudden you recognize that, it's not about jumping to another niche. It's about fixing your own stuff first and foremost. And again, I share this with all the love and respect possible, but you go into any market and there are people who will struggle and people who win. What's the difference? Number one, it's your energy, okay? So it's how you show up energetically is going to be very attractive or very repelling to certain people. What I mean by that is this. In about 30 seconds, if I saw somebody on camera, I can tell how their business is doing. So I'll give you an example. So let's say that I watch one of your enrollment calls and I see you show up with really low energy, or you're really, really super excited. You're going to be amazing. There's a lot of stuff going on there, okay? So we want to have people pick up subconsciously on your energy instantaneously before anything comes out of your mouth. So one is, do I get the sense, just even observing you, that you're the expert in this domain? Do you hold yourself confidently? Do you speak with authority? If I'm listening to you, do I feel like I'm about to be in the presence of someone who's the best in class in this domain? So that's the first thing. If I don't get that sense, I'll tell you. Okay. So I'm like, hey, I just don't. I'll give you an example. I was reviewing one of the sales calls for one of our clients. She's a medical doctor. Okay. I'm going to spare her name just in case she's watching this or listening to this, but you know who I'm talking about if you're watching this. She's a medical doctor. She's been at this forever. And I'm watching this sales call she has. And like, I'm just like, man, like, I'm like, can I be honest with you? She's like, yes, please. I'm like, I just don't get the sense that you even want to be in this conversation, nor do I get the sense if I were the prospect that I'm like, that you're this expert. Because like I've seen other conversations of yours that are way better. She's, on the call, she's kind of like leaning into her hands. Her body language is very droopy and not really like, I'm like, dude, you got to bring the doctor frame to this conversation. There was like, her speech was very like, yeah, it was very nonchalant and it didn't really convey expertise. So I'm like, you got to fix that. And the good thing is, how, because you've done this before. So I just gave her some specific examples of like, okay, number one, don't lean into your hand like that because it looks like you're bored. Number two, articulate the words you're speaking a little bit more clearly and just sit up in your chair, right? Let's start with that. So I share that as the energy component to this because here's the thing is if you don't fix that and you think you're going to jump ship to another niche, guess who else is going to be going there? You are. So you take that energy to another niche and the same stuff happens. And all of a sudden it's like, well, I've tried all these different niches and none of them have worked. I'm like, hold on. You know the saying, no matter where you go, there you are. It's the same thing here. And it's the same thing I've talked about before when I've mentioned when people come into my world and they're like, I've done all these other coaching programs and none of them have worked. I'm like, hold your horses there. Hold on. Do not pass go. Do not collect $200. Please stay away from me because something about you and your energy doesn't work. It's not that every single other coaching program doesn't. It's most likely how you're showing up is the problem. Most people don't want to hear that. And like, yes, in marketing, we're taught to absolve the pain. It's not your fault. It's those other systems. 100%. There's some shitty stuff out there. But it's kind of crazy to say that every single one of them is a scam. Come on, let's be honest. So the first thing we got to fix is our energy. Okay, first and foremost, it doesn't matter which niche you jump to, you got to fix that. Second thing is understanding the grass is greenest where you water it. So the saying the grass is greener on the other side? It's bullshit. It's not, okay? It's greenest where you water it. So if you work with women who have leaky bladder stuff, that's a very, very viable market. Now, if you don't know what's a viable niche, here's an idea. Maybe consider working with an expert who actually knows what is a viable niche. Because the only thing worse than wasting money is wasting time. And you trying to figure stuff out on your own is one of the worst things you can ever do. And I share this because I was that guy for 3 years back in 2005 who thought I could figure this out on my own. And it was a fucking shit show. I'm sharing this with you because don't make the same mistakes. And you probably will. That's okay. Don't make the same mistakes I did. You're smart. Cool. That's also your downfall. Because if you think you're smart, you think you can figure things out on your own. And that was the mistake, the colossal mistake that I made. And that's why I probably would have been way more successful and avoided so many friggin' pitfalls had I taken my own advice. This is what probably like one of the reasons I shoot these videos. Right, is kind of like to me, my younger self, to be like, dude, don't be fucking retarded. Just like get some help. So make sure you get guidance. And at the very minimum, if the guidance is from these videos, good starting point, cool. Where am I going with this? The grass is not greener on the other side. It's greenest where you water it. So you have to understand that you will run into challenges no matter what market you pick. People say no to working with you. They say it's too expensive. People aren't booking calls with you. They're not engaging with your stuff. It's not the market, it's you. And you have to understand that. And I share that with like all the love and compassion possible. The more you point the finger everywhere else, the more you will struggle. It's not the market, it's you, it's me. It's always us 100% of the time. Because if it was the market, then no one else in this market would do well. But if you've ever thought to yourself, how is it possible that these people are just they're not as smart as I am, but they're doing way better, or they seem to be doing better. It's not the market. It's you. It's me. It's us. And the sooner, just like with the energy component, right? The sooner we take ownership of that, the sooner we can improve the situation. Because if you keep pointing fingers, you're essentially abdicating responsibility for any type of improvement that you can make for yourself. And that sucks because that means I'm powerless. I have no right. I have no opportunity to change my situation. And that's called being a victim. And victims do not win in life. So what do I mean by you have control of this? It's on you. Well, number one, it's your messaging. Okay. So I've talked about the 4 growth killers before. Let me reiterate them here in case you don't remember. Number one, 4 growth killers. The reason you're not growing your business or this market is challenging is because number one, no one knows you exist. Obscurity is the biggest danger you face. Number 2, some people know you exist, but they don't understand what it is you do. They don't understand what it is you offer. That's a messaging problem. Now, messaging is a skill. Just like becoming visible, the opposite of obscurity, number 1, is a skill. Okay, so we'll unpack this in a second. So the second growth killer, some people, again, some people, not 8 billion people on the planet, some people know you exist. They just don't understand what it is you're offering. So lack of clarity, ambiguous messaging, etc. Third growth killer is, okay, maybe they do understand what you have to offer. They just don't want it. That's an offer issue. And 4, they know you exist. They understand what you offer. They may want what you have to offer, but they simply don't trust you enough to give you money. Those are the 4 growth killers that you have to overcome to build your business. So it doesn't matter which niche you jump into, you're still going to deal with all 4 of those, no matter or 1 or 2 or 3 of them, doesn't matter. So obscurity. And here's the thing: when I share this and I share like it's always on us, these 4 growth killers are 100% in our control. What I mean by that is to become less obscure, you have to advertise. Now, advertise can be paid traffic or it can be content, self-promotion. But Yuri, I don't like that stuff. Good for you. Amazing. Then you shall not grow. You shall not attract any clients and you shall struggle forever. Congratulations, you can stop watching this video. Okay? So if you don't like self-promotion, that's amazing. Enjoy working for the rest of your life with clients one-on-one who fall into your lap. And if you love that, amazing. This video is not for you. Number 2, you have to master self-promotion. You have to get yourself out there. So it's either ads, content, whatever. 2 is your messaging has to be better. How do you improve messaging? Well, number 1, you learn how to do it properly and you do it over and over again. That's how you build any skill. You get guidance on how to do it properly and then you repeat the thing properly 1,000,000 times until you become masterful. Think of riding a bike, think of driving a car, think of learning a language. It's the same thing here, okay? You have to learn what good messaging looks like and there are frameworks and structures on how to do that properly. As an example, I was just talking with our clients yesterday about this, around video ads, about just, not even video ads, just like videos, like reels. And I'm guilty of this too. It's lazy. When I go to people's social media accounts and I look at their reels, their videos, I'm like, cardinal sin number 1. Hey guys, in today's video, I want to talk with you about, it's like 5 seconds. I'm like, who cares? You have to understand how to start a video with a stronger hook to pull people in, okay? So there's very specific skills and structures and frameworks that you can build here with your messaging to make it way more attractive and a lot clearer. Third is your offer, right? So people know what you do, they don't want it. Okay, well, how do you make a more attractive offer? Well, there's a whole science to that as well. I'm not going to get into it here. I've got other videos on the channel. This is obviously one of the most important things we help our clients do is called building a high converting offer. Super important. Like if you can't build an offer that people want, you're going to feel like you're running 1,000 miles an hour in the opposite direction looking for a sunset. So understand that these are skills. And 4th is trust. How do you build trust with an audience, for the most part, who is, let's just call it overly skeptical? You just need a tremendous amount of time and presence. You have to be in front of people all the time. How do I do that, Yuri? I don't want to be on social media forever. Well, you either run ads or you post content like a maniac. Those are the 2 options you have. But that sounds like hard work. Well, what's harder? Building a business that creates the future you want or struggling for the rest of your life? Choose your hard, right? Getting in shape is hard. Being fat is hard. Choose your hard. So like, whatever. Doesn't fucking matter, okay? Those are the 4 things. Notice how I said all of them are in your control. Now, they may not feel like they're in your control right now because you simply don't have the skills required at this current moment in time to get through those. But that's okay, because if you identify what they are, then you're like, cool, I can learn the skills. Exactly. So do not pivot markets, do not pivot niches until you've done this stuff. Now, if you're in a market and you've mastered the skills and you've been at it for years, and if you've been at something for years, then most likely, unless you have some kind of side gig somewhere else, you're making money in the niche. You're doing well. Just keep doing it. You don't need to move. Like, you don't need to pivot. But Yuri, I'm thinking of also doing the don't do it. Vote, just drill deep. Keep drilling vertically for oil for the rest of your life. But I don't just want to be known as a person, cool, awesome, complicate your life, go into a different niche, complicate everything, spread yourself too thin. By all means, I don't care. Go for it, okay? But I'm telling you, if you already have proof of concept and things are going well, just double down, 10x down on that one niche and you're going to crush, okay? Every market in the health space is like the opportunity, I would say, is at least 100 to 1,000x what I have access to with Healthpreneur. Let me explain this. Our total addressable market of health professionals between North America and the UK is about 2.5 million people, okay? 2.5 million people, practitioners. Do the vast majority of them want to build an online business? No. Maybe in 10 years from now, more than will. That's obviously going to be increasing. But right now, that's not the largest percentage of our market. That's why we pay a fortune to grow our business. Now, when I look at our clients, I'm like, dude, here's my credit card. Please, you book 35 calls in a day? Like, what the fuck? So they're like, we're talking to plantar fasciitis, weight loss, acne, IBS, bladder. Like, these types of issues are massive in terms of total addressable market size, right? 2.5 million practitioners. There's like 2.5 million people times 10 who have like bladder issues. So please understand that you have so much opportunity and so much runway, and the cost to grow that type of business is so small compared to going into like a B2B type of thing. So remember, the grass is not always greenest on the other side. Here's another big mistake I see some practitioners make. I've built a great practice helping the consumer improve some aspect of their health. Now, I want to help other practitioners with the same methodology that I've used. I'm like, please don't do it unless you have proof of concept already. Here's why. You're used to just double down on this. You're going to enter a completely new realm, especially online. You're now competing against us and other businesses in the B2B space. You're going to pay 5 to 10 times more for every single part of your acquisition. And it's not easier. It's just difference, right? So like, again, it's just like, it's not like, just keep doing what you're doing. If you have track record, okay? Like, you're not going to have easier clients over here. You're not going to have better clients. Like, you're still going to have pain in the ass clients, even if they paid you 10 times as much money. You're still going to have headaches. The nature of the business changes a little bit, but you're like, there's no like, oh, I'm going to go into this market and I'm finally going to be able to relax, chill by the ocean. It's not going to happen. I'm telling you this because I've been on both sides. I've built a very, very large, high volume, 500,000 customers health business online. And I've built the world's largest, longest standing coaching company for practitioners. So business to consumer, business to business. I definitely enjoy this one more, but that's also because it's not a different market. It's because I'm just a smarter entrepreneur several decades later. So you might be asking why I sold my first business. Well, because I ran into a pain ceiling that at the time I wasn't mature enough to move through, or nor did I have the desire. So in that case, I had made the decision to say, listen, like, I am ready for the next chapter in my life, which is helping practitioners build their business, because our vision is to help 1 billion people improve their health. I can't get there by myself in the individual, to the consumer road. But if I can help healers heal more people, then maybe we can get closer to that. Now, Healthpreneur seemed easier to build because I had 13 years of building business before that. But if I had started this on day zero of my business journey, it would have felt very, very hard. So I'm not saying like I pivoted out of my previous, I sold the company. Okay. So like I sold that business and I moved into this because it was, for me, the next soul, it was like my soul purpose, like is my part of my dharma, my mission here on this planet. And so for me, it made sense. It wasn't a pivot. It was kind of like the next chapter of my own evolution. Now, so that's why I'm not a huge fan of like just jumping markets. I'm a much bigger fan of like, you have a very big viable market. Just get better at what you're doing. Figure this out, okay? Because you're going to start over here and go right back to ground zero and start everything again. Okay. So when does it make sense to actually pivot? So a lateral shift, like you're doing weight loss and now you want to do IBS, like something like that. To me, to be honest, one of the only times where that makes sense is when you're energetically, like your soul has it's been removed from that business. So I was just talking to my brother last night at dinner. they're currently in an acquisition of selling their supplement company, and it's been a shit show. And he's like, honestly, man, I don't even care anymore. Like, I'm just kind of showing up. I'm like, dude, like, come on, like, just get them to fire you or whatever it is. And like, that's the type of energy where, you just have to, like, you got to shift. If you're dealing with a certain demographic or a certain outcome, and you just know in your soul, this is not what I'm meant to do, then cool, go do IBS or whatever, like, your thing is. Please understand though, all of the trials and tribulations you dealt with in market number 1, you get to go through again with market number 2. You might have a little bit more experience, right? You kind of like circumvented some of the potholes the second time because you've gone through them the first time. So you might get a bit faster traction depending on how much you've done in the first one. But for me, honestly, that's the only time. Like, I'm very, very hesitant to be like, well, there's more financial opportunity over here. Don't do things because there's financial opportunity. There's financial opportunity everywhere. You can build a billion-dollar business. I'm seriously, with a B, or at least hundreds of millions in any one of these health verticals. Whether you want to or not is up to you, right? But I'm just saying the markets are huge, but they all come with challenges, right? And so it's really up to he or she who's willing to go through those challenges, go through that gauntlet to really figure it out, right? Like, if you think of the world of osteoporosis, there are many coaches, health experts who deal with that, and they make a couple grand a month. And there are other businesses that do millions a month in the same market. What's the difference? One chose to take on more challenges. I get to solve bigger problems, therefore I make more money. So here's the big thing. If you are running into resistance in your current business, in your current market, do not use that as a reason to jump ship. What's happening is you're running into a pain line, comfort zone, and instead of learning how to pierce through it, you're thinking it'll be easier over here. Let me do that. It's not easier. In fact, you're going to go back to ground zero. It's kind of like playing snakes and ladders. You get all the way to 99, you hit a snake, you go all the way back to zero, as opposed to figuring out, how do I get across the finish line? This is also when you see people talk about themselves as serial entrepreneurs. This is the same thing. I have many friends who are really, really good 0 to 1, right? So they love starting something. As soon as they get to $1 million in business, or 2 or 3, they're like, I don't want to do this anymore. I'm bored. That's fine. Like, they understand their own DNA. They like starting stuff, and they'll jump from that to the next thing. But here's the thing is, they're not going to go from starting a company from 0 to 3 million, and then the next company go from 0 to 30 million, or the next one from 0 to 100 million. It's not going to happen, because what they have not, unless they recognize that they're hitting ceilings, and because of that, they're retreating and going back to their safety zone. Until the points where they get sick and tired of jumping from one thing to the next, this serial entrepreneur nonsense, it's not nonsense, it's a choice, that's fine. They will maybe at some point get to a point where it's like, you know what? I'm sick and tired of jumping from one thing to the next. I want to like really sink my roots somewhere, and I want to move through the pain line. I want to figure this out. I want to understand about what is it about me that I'm unable to go from 3 to 10 million. What am I missing? What am I lacking to go from 10 to 50 million? Whatever it might be. And it's the same thing with you and your business, whether you're starting out or scaling up, it doesn't matter. You're hitting ceilings, whatever they might be. I don't like no-shows on my sales calls. I don't like dealing with people saying no to me. I don't want to have to hire someone. Those are all pain lines that will, instead of you growing through them, will simply keep you playing small, or at worst, they're going to get you thinking, well, maybe I should pivot into another market. Maybe I should pivot, and maybe not even another market. Maybe I should sell another thing. Like, instead of a high-ticket coaching program, I'm going to sell a course for $297 to satisfy all those people who couldn't afford my higher price program. And guess why that's a disaster? Because all those people are still going to say no to $297. And that's because that's who they are. That's how they think about investing in themselves. Whether it's $297 or $297.0, they just don't value themselves enough, or they don't think the problem is big enough to actually want to solve it. So don't overcomplicate your business to try to help people who don't want your help to begin with. So hopefully this video has been useful. As you can probably tell, I'm not a huge fan of niche hopping. With Healthpreneur, as an example, this business will stand the test of time. It will last beyond my lifetime. I have no intention of selling this, and that's because I'm committed to moving through my own pain lines. I recognize I've got some major issues that are stopping our growth, and I get to move through that. I get to do the hard work. Because what else am I going to do? Am I going to sell Healthpreneur and start another business, which is kind of like Healthpreneur? And like, yep, we can get right up to where we are now. And guess what's going to happen again? I'm going to run into the same issues. And that's going to keep happening over and over again until I solve them, right? It's like if you've had the same relationship 5 times. Guess what? Maybe you should do the work so that the next relationship doesn't seem like the previous 5. It's the same thing here. So hopefully this video has been useful for you. If it has, let me know what you like most about this in the comments below. And if you haven't done so already, hit the subscribe button. I've got hundreds of other videos to help you get out of your own way and build an amazing online health business that serves a lot more people, including yourself. I want to tell you a really cool story about a young man named Victor. He's 20 years old, he lives in Mexico, and he's part of our help at our house in Mexico. This guy is next level.